Not in our backyard for a change. I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming and making the trek. A lot of people came from a long, long way. This is a personal story. I cried a lot making it, and I laughed a shitload. So I hope you all enjoy it. I also want to say one other thing for those of you who got VIP meet and greet tickets. Thank you for hauling your asses up 4 flights of stairs. That was brutal, and I appreciate that. Mark wants to tell you some other things. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you for being here, but I also just want to say we've worked really hard. It's been this weird, long, winding road to get it here, and if you guys can please not record anything, it would really help us out when we're licensing and stuff. And that's it.
Yeah, let's start this movie.
Yeah.
But wait, we have to get to our seats. Do we have seats? Okay.
Yeah!
Check it out. All right. Hello, everyone. So, I'm going to the movie. We're going to make hands for the director, Julian Adams. I'm going to thank for Mark. Still going. Thank you. Oh, there you are. Awesome. And, just
This is Lance Rock.
This is for you.
oh, yes, I am a,
Nice.
oh, stop it. I'm a proud Midwesterner from St. Louis, and we always used to go up to Chicago all the time, and this was like, you know, mecca for us. There were a lot of different labels in Chicago. There was like Homestead and Touch and Go, but like, we always wanted to know what was on Wax Trax. That was the place to be. That's kind of like in my personal holy trinity of like, you know, Mute, Network, and Wax Trax. So I was really honored and blessed to do this Q&A because a lot of this music and a lot of the memories and a lot of, you know, it means a lot to me. And this is like a labor of love, and it's a legacy of love because you can see what Jim and Danny did, and how it just keeps reverberating with like new music and like younger people discovering it. I see a lot of young people out here that probably weren't around the first time, so like the legacy lives on, and thank you all for supporting it.
Yeah!
So now, wait, why are you leaving? You gotta sit down, you're gonna be on the Q&A panel, and you're the director of the film, so you have to stand here, alright? So we're gonna ask some questions, and you know, there's so many people here from, you know, that were in the movie, that worked at the store that came out from Chicago. I don't know everybody, but I wanna thank Larry, I definitely wanna thank your mother Jean, I wanna thank Lori, Nancy, Riker, Olivia, Emily, just all these people that are out here to help support. And hopefully this is going to be a good Q&A. And the one thing that we would like to ask you, because there's still a lot of people here, and we want to get all the questions answered, and there's going to be a lot of panel up here. It's a Q&A, so please just ask a question. We don't want to hear, you know what your father did, it meant so much to me. The first time I heard this, and then I took none of that. We got to keep this moving. Just please, they know that you love them, we all love them. Please just ask the questions so we can keep this moving. And now, without further ado, let's see if I can get them all here. First, I'm going to try to go in alphabetical order, so we'll see if I got this. First, we have Mr. Paul Barker. And then we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Chris Connolly. All right, welcome back to CD. All right, some of you people might know him as Buzz McCoy, but let's say hello to Marston Day. I don't know, maybe I'm forgetting somebody. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, we're going to save the number for last. So, Marston's partner in crime, some of you know him as Grippy Man. Please give it up for Frankie Nodiello! Who else is back there? There's two people back there, though. Is that it? Oh, that's it. And now we're going to have a fine employee of the Wax Trax label and store, Mr. Andy Wombo. So now we're saving the number for last. Many people have a favorite number. Some are 17, some are 7, some are 13. But mine is 23. Yeah. Mr. Richard 23! 5242!
Yeah!
Yes!
Hello.
Paul's hair looks great.
So, we're going to start with you, Julia. What made you decide to make this film?
I said, talking about the monitors. Technical, some stuff.
Fair enough. I said, what made you want to make this movie?
Well, I didn't. Director Spectacle did it.
Great.
Because, like I said in the film, I really was completely clueless, and when I saw the reaction and the amount of people that came and talked to me about the difference it has made in their lives and the impact, I was like, this is a big deal, I guess.
Absolutely.
This needs to be told. This story should be told.
Wax Trax is very influential in, the American music scene and the independent music scene, and it never got the recognition because that's one of the few scenes that kind of went from England to the Midwest, Chicago, and then spread out across the country. So it's very influential, and I don't think that can be overstated. So that's great. So was this like an homage to your dad, or like you just wanted to share this?
I felt like I owed it to the fans, actually, just because of the people that came up to me, talking to me, and really like pouring their hearts out, saying, you have no idea, I would be dead right now if it weren't for this music and for your parents. It gave me purpose, and so that, to me, that was massive. And I thought you should know a little bit more about these people that saved your life.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to just speak this up real quick. There was a few things that were not in the film, and I don't know if they were just editorial decisions or what, but there was like not a lot of, there was an image, but there was really no mention of psychic TV. You know, or Me Beat Manifesto, were those conscious decisions? I'm sure you couldn't do the whole roster, but...
No. You mean to have images and no interviews or discussion, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Well, clearly, as you saw that kick-ass animated record Spiral, there are a lot of people to talk to, and we would still be interviewing if that were the case. And a lot of them, like for Psychic TV, we couldn't interview them for reasons of like they weren't around, they weren't in town. It wasn't possible. So that was really it. So at least getting an image up there and someone else perhaps talking about it. Richard did, Throbbing Gristle, that kind of thing. So having at least it mentioned and acknowledging it in that way was really the best we could do, or this would seriously be a mini-series we'd be working on. Maybe it would be.
Well, okay, I'm going to just go to you in a second, Mr. Conley. But there were just a lot of firsts. Really, because the Animal Liberation compilation, that was like one of the first collaborations with PETA, which I thought was kind of an important thing, at that time when it came out.
And we did actually, in the first round of interviews, the first film we made, we interviewed Dan Matthews from PETA. And so he spoke to the Animal Liberation coming of that whole thing. But we had, been tied up in kind of a legal battle. And so all of that original footage was sort of squatted on, so we couldn't use any of it. So we went on and made a new movie. And so it was very hard to, we couldn't get everybody again. And then we couldn't, at the point where we did get the footage back, we couldn't work in enough stuff. We had some brilliant stuff from Patty Jorgensen that didn't make it, which is a shame, but B-roll.
Yeah!
The B-roll will be actually better than the movie.
Maybe that'll be on the DVD or something. That'll be great. But like I said, that was the first, and I don't know if I'm correct on this, but I thought, I remember when Phoenix Tribe came out, and I remember when they were finally on Wax Trax, they did a single, and you did I Want More, and I think that's, Phoenix Tribe was like, if not the first band, one of the first bands to ever cover a Can song,
To the best of my knowledge, that might be correct, and one of the reasons that Wax Trax actually put it out was because, you might remember this, but there was a 12-inch of I Want More by Can behind the counter that was on heavy rotation in the store. I didn't know that because I lived in Scotland at the time, but when Jim and Danny heard it, they were like, oh yeah, we love this song, let's put it out. So that's how it happened, yeah.
And then from there, you ended up collaborating with this gentleman over there to your left.
Him?
Yeah.
I did. Well, Paul actually mixed the I Want More single for us, and he charged us 30 cans of beer. Okay, so this is a 1-case mix, guys. So we did. We did an English mix. Is there 30 cans in them? Well, they're bigger cans, aren't they? And they're stronger. Anyway, he got a case of beer for mixing our single for us.
That was mixed at Southern Studios.
At Southern Studios, yes. Yeah.
Wow, so we were in Southern Studios. Is that when you ended up meeting Adrian Sherwood, or how did that come about that you had that relationship with Adrian Sherwood?
Yeah, that was, I met him at Southern Studios.
Excellent. Hey, bro.
Also there, I guess that's when you met Cabaret Voltaire?
No, they were in Chicago. They were here recording Groovy, Laid Back and Nasty, whatever that record was.
The house record.
Yeah, their producer, Marshall Jefferson, got stomach flu, and so they were in Chicago in the middle of winter with nothing to do, so we kind of pounced on them.
And hence Acid Horse.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, great track. All right, Marcy and Frankie.
Yeah.
Frankie, I know you worked at the store, but did you work there, Marston?
I work at the label.
No,
Okay,
he worked
now-
in the boutique and he fell asleep on the counter.
So they fired me from the boutique and put me to work at the label. Shipping records. So everybody that has a Wax Trax record shipped at, what, 88 to 92 was shipped from me.
Anyone with drool on their product from the boutique?
That's most of us, by the way. I'm speaking for myself, of course.
So, how did you come up with some of your concepts? Because I remember when you did the tour where you had the bar on stage during the Sexplosion. That was a pretty far out concept.
It was a real bar. And it was on stage. I don't know. I think I was in a musical once and they did that.
Well, what's one of your best memories of working at the store? And
What did I do?
no, I said, what's one of your best memories if you have any memories?
They come and go. It depends on my mood. Let's see. Once I was playing a ministry song, making fun of it, and I lit a poster of Al on fire with my lighter, and it lit the backdrop on the window on fire because it was black construction paper. And Danny and June were across the street in their car leaving and saw the window burst into flames. Then they saw me run into the window, patting it out with my hand on fire, and Danny came to help me. Jim came in and said, "Frankie, go home." The next day I went to work. The end.
All right. So Andy, you seem to have a good memory of all the things that were going on here. How many employees ended up being on the label? I know that's something that seems, it didn't really come through a lot in the movie, but like a lot of artists and people involved with making music did work for the store of the label as well.
Well, Chris
Marston.
you worked at the store. Frankie.
Yeah, right.
Brett worked at the label.
I worked at the label for a few months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Some design work. That Luke Van Acker, I designed Luke Van Acker record the first time.
Yeah, this is a first.
It took you months.
I was professional. Graphic artist.
I remember, I didn't know who Frankie was, but he would come in and hang out at the office and lie down on the floor and cut out pictures of the devil out of magazines. That was before throw football. Apparently he worked at the store and caused fires too. I didn't know. It was a very open environment there. When I started, it was just Jim and Danny and Liz, Jim's niece Liz, who was the label manager. But there was just a revolving door. The office was always full of people, and sometimes they got scared. I think Chris ended up working there because you just found out so much the image an employee.
Yeah, I had nowhere else to go because I sort of moved to Chicago from Scotland. I didn't really know anyone, so this was this annoying kid who hung out at the label and eventually, well, I got a job at the store and then I moved on to the label when
Much more than
the
that.
store couldn't tolerate me anymore.
Best rock autobiography ever written, right there. Chris Connolly. Let's have a hand for Chris Connolly. Best rock ever written.
So Richard, what was your first impression of coming over here to Chicago and being brought into the Wax Trax enclave?
The first people we met when we came to Chicago were Jim and Danny at the airport, and they were we were not expecting anything. There was no internet, we had no pictures, we didn't know what was going on there, and we see those two guys like very excited, like, hey guys, you 242, that's so great, Chicago. And we're like, those guys are the manager, the boss of the label. So it was different than the other people we met in the business. So that was the first time, the first impression we had was like, this is something different, definitely. Yeah, and then we get in the van and they got beers and like, yeah, drink a beer and we're gonna go see Al and because we were supporting Ministry at the time, our first tour back in '84. So it was all crazy, going fast, and they were like, Jim was talking about music, about the ideas he had for the band and the covers, and so yeah, it was all new. It was all. I didn't sleep the first night because we were sleeping at Jim and Danny and their place back then. And they had tons of videotapes of shit we never saw before. Like, of course, of all those bands we saw in the movie, but also like weird tapes. I don't know if you remember, Julia, they had tapes about people dying and stuff. So, after the beers in the van, the jet lag in the trip, and those two guys were like, and then we ended watching those tapes. Yeah, that was a very cool experience.
But you had that fish story.
Oh, the fish?
The fish.
The piranhas?
Yeah.
They also had like piranhas in the aquarium there, and we could feed them because they had a smaller one next to them with goldfish. So that was also an experience. Really, that's how they were, like going crazy and being enthusiastic about everything. See those goldfish, you can feed the piranhas. Thank you.
So did all those experiences inspire you when you did like the official version or any of your other music? Because those records are still pretty inspirational.
I don't know if you were inspired by Jim and Danny and the label, but we were definitely for other songs like Welcome to Paradise influenced by what we were seeing on TV in the States.
Yeah.
You got to remember back then, we have access to everything everywhere in the world, but back then in Belgium and Europe, we didn't know about all those preachers and stuff and all the channels you have on TV with those preachers talking about Jesus and stuff. We're like, wow. I mean, we have sports channels, but not Jesus channels. So, and the way those people were expressing themselves, the way they were talking about religion, like usually we go in Belgium, if you want to hear about Jesus, you go to church. It's like another environment. And then suddenly we turn on the TV the same night, we got all these people talking about Jesus, and so we recorded all that, and we use it later on songs like Welcome to Paradise. Definitely.
Yeah.
Very quickly, why don't we talk about RevCo?
Yeah.
You were with Al and Luke Van Acker, and I don't know if you want to talk about it. I know then Chris came in later to be the vocalist, and Paul was there the whole time. So just if I can just get because on Saturday they're going to have in its entirety the performance of Big Sexy Land. People. I need some thoughts from you guys on how you feel about it. Where you're at now with it.
Well, back then, I was getting along with Al, But I mean, we were supporting Ministry, as I said, the first tour in the States, and we were just into music. It was like there was an energy, there was like a connection, and it just happened like that. And as we said in the movie, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were just, having fun with machines and trying to understand the way it was working, as you saw. And we had no idea, but the magic was there because having 3 different people in the studio, pushed by those 2 guys from Wax Trax, like, oh yeah, come on, we'll do some vocals, and what about bass line? Because Jim and Danny were always there. You saw pictures. They were in the studio with the artist. That was their, that's all they wanted to do, make the artist happy, but also themselves being happy because they were part of it. And that's the beauty of it. And Chris said it too. If they like it, they just want to give you the money to go in the studio and spend the money, energy, and time to make the artist happy. And that was Wax Trax.
What's that?
No.
Well, then I left and Chris came in.
When I joined the Revolting Cocks, I didn't actually know much about the band. But I went to try and sell the Finny Tribe to Wax Trax in London. I went down like you did back then. You took a cassette to the record company. I got on an overnight bus. I set up an appointment with Alison Schnackenberg, who worked at the label in London. And Ministry were recording at that time with what would become the Land of Milk and Honey. And I met Al, it was about 11 in the morning, and you weren't there. I still met you later in the day, but Al just said, "Oh, do you want to record?" And I said, "Sure." And he was like, "Right now?" And I said, "Okay." And he didn't know me or my music particularly at all. And we went out for a drink, which turned into like 5 pints at 11 in the morning. You know, back to Southern Studios, and you know, I remember that he got a cab to go and get a carton of cigarettes and some speed. Just a cab with no people in it, just the driver to go pick up speed from one place and a carton of cigarettes. Brought back to the studio, and we worked, and he said, "You're the new singer for the Cocks," and I didn't know there was an old singer for the Cocks. And I was like, "That's great, man, fine." I was just an unemployed kid from Edinburgh, and that was that.
Do you remember what that song was?
Well, ironically, the song became, he wiped my vocals and got Ian Mackay to sing it. But you know, it was my entree into Al's incredible, often indecision about things, which usually worked out for the best in many ways, but it didn't seem like he could focus on any one thing at any particular time. And
that cab ride didn't have anything to do with it.
But he can focus enough. He can focus enough to get it done. He can focus enough to get it done. He could focus
right,
enough.
yes, he did see things to their
He could focus
illogical conclusions.
If the natives are giving us this, I'll open up to them, but I just want to say, like, you know, there's just so many things we can talk about, you know, with all the lots of Pam productions that you did. You know, there were so many great things, and then you guys did PTP together, which is like one of my favorite tracks.
Super fun.
See? Yeah, big minds think alike. And then, you know, for Marcy and Frankie, the clubs in St. Louis played the Thrill Kill Cult a lot. We would go over to the east side, and they would always play. They would always play The Devil Does Drugs.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And I thought that I told this to Frankie earlier. They played Double Bunnies, which was always a lot of fun. And you know, Andy, thank you for all the knowledge and just keeping this straight with everybody here. And Richard, it's just really great to meet you, even though I'm still mad that you didn't play Don't Crash when you just played here. But all is forgiven.
I'm so sorry.
I know, that's in another 15 years. But now, you know, thank you for answering my questions, and we're going to open it up to the audience.
Cue up to this mic here, guys. Right here, Mark.
From the early punk rock era, I hung out at Wax Trax many times. My question deals with how the movie documentary was divided into 2 parts. One part was documenting all the Wax Trax bands on the label, who I greatly admire, and the other part of the movie dealt with the record store itself. And my memory of the record store being involved in the early punk scene in Chicago, all the local punk band and punk people hung out at Wax Trax. And if it wasn't for Wax Trax, a lot of the local bands like Naked Ray Gun, Effigies, and Strike Under, by the way, was the first record you dealt with. It was very important to the local punk, and not just punk rock music, it was new wave music and gothic music, and the Wax Trax label music, which we were supposed to. But my question is, why didn't you deal with that part of the movie in the record store? I mean, it makes sense you covered the industrial scene, because that's everlasting. But it was very important in Chicago to the local punk bands to hang out at Wax Trax.
Journalists?
Well, again, the store was my passion. That was the biggest part for me. But we also had a really hard time. A lot of people had passed away that worked there. So we had very few people to pick from who could tell the story appropriately. I can, as memories being 8 years old, but that's not what you want to hear. So I feel like we did what we could do. Again, of course, there's always more. You can always add more. You can always do more. But
what about that documentary about the scene in Chicago?
well, yeah, there was.
You weren't there.
Yeah.
You weren't there. That was a documentary on the Chicago punk scene. It played here in LA about 10 years ago. But Wax Trax is unique. Every punk rock person in Chicago during that era, regular British-inspired punk rock, we were all hanging out at Wax Trax.
Well, I think the overall theme of that, though, is like no matter what kind of music you listen to, maybe not Chuck Mangione but that place was all about family, so it was inclusive to everyone, and that kind of was the vibe of the movie I felt that I was trying to convey to people. And yes, it was a safe haven for everyone, and you met each other.
She's amazing. She's an amazing woman because she's creating
Thank
experience
you.
for years.
I was at one time nefarious figure on the nightclub scene in Chicago.
Tom Duty?
Fucking A.
That's right. How are you?
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for doing this. You know, I loved so many of the people that were in there. It was such a seminal part of my post-formative years, and I still dream about being in the store.
So what's your question?
Larry Trandis, we were talking, had a dream about it.
Bitch last time. My question is, why isn't Joe Shanahan here? Couldn't make it?
I guess not. I mean,
You know what? That's more of a rhetorical question. I wish he was here.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Frankie, who are you wearing tonight?
No question.
And I'll leave you with that.
Angel.
How cool.
With fragrance.
Hey, I'm Lulu. I was a punk rocker that went to your store from 83 to 87. I loved it. But anyway, someone that was close to you told me the story behind your logo, and I'm so old I can't remember. Could you refresh my memory? The face, your logo.
Can you refresh the memory, Mark?
Someone that went to Medusa's and knew Sugar.
Yeah, but
Oh.
we can't hear you, Mark. What do you say?
It was looking from some Russian propaganda, I think. Well, not some Russian packaging or probably posted.
Right.
One of
Right.
and then repurposed.
Good, man. Thank you.
But I don't know where the Medusa connection is, other than Medusa.
Oh,
was awesome.
it was someone that knew your panel personally.
Oh, okay.
And you know, we attend Wax Trax and Medusa's, and told me about the story behind this logo, and I couldn't remember now. And
That's it, because that's right. We researched that in the very beginning of time.
all right, thank you so much.
It's a question for Chris and Paul. In 1987, when Recto came here to LA, I had the dubious distinction of hosting half of your band at my house. Unfortunately, it wasn't your half of the band.
Oh, I remember you.
Yeah, I wrote about you in my book. Anonymously.
Okay. So for 30 years I've been wondering what's the origin of the phrase, shit happens, Gumby.
Shit happens. We were staying at your house, man.
You mean, why did we call him Gumby?
No, all I ever heard was shit happens, Gumby. And I knew that was his nickname, but I didn't know why shit happens.
I think because we were constantly pulling pranks on him. He was, whatever, he was traveling across the country with us, and we were doing everything we could to make it as amusing for everyone involved. And we called him Gumby because he wore this green suit all the time. I mean, it wasn't, the color of Gumby, but it was green, and nobody was wearing green at that time, so he was Gumby.
Thanks.
Hi. I've got a curious question, actually. Given the era in which the label existed and the location you guys are in Chicago, did you guys interact much with the burgeoning house music scene?
Excellent question, thanks.
Well, I mean, okay, so in the studio, like in Chicago Trax studio, there was some degree of shifts passing in the night, this sort of thing. So we were the night shift, and a lot of house musicians were the day shift, that sort of thing. Also, there were 2 rooms in that studio, and commonly we would be in one, and somebody would be producing some house music in the other side. But there really wasn't much cross-pollinization, if that's where you're going with this.
I guess, also because of the fact that it was also a point in time when, I guess drum machines and everything kind of were used in-house and on your side. So
Well,
it's
I
funny
can
to
say-
make records in the day and then go off raving at night.
Right. Well, so we weren't interested in, we weren't interested in the sounds that those drum machines made, or working with 303s or whatever, that sort of thing. We were into sampling, and so we were into making our own sounds, and we were influenced by harder dance music than what house music was. House music was, a groove, but it wasn't, it wasn't like you were getting kicked, in the stomach, or punched in the face, and that's what we wanted to do. And so we realized that drum machines themselves, whatever. Some of those sounds could do it, but to have a whole selection of sounds that were all super tough, then you had to make those. And so we made those and used samplers. So it's kind of a, a different approach to the idea that we're going to use machines to give us our rhythms.
But we weren't using the same drum. When I first came over, the first week I was here, when I moved from Scotland, that music, house music,
Go back to the movie.
was huge.
And you said you were misfits
It
just
was
like
on the
us.
rise.
Oh, sorry, baby.
Yeah, you're really being distracted. So one of the first things I asked Al when I came to Chicago was what house music was really good. He said, I hate that pussy shit, man. I said, okay, that's that conversation over. You're not interested in that stuff.
Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Brian. I just want to say thank you for making this film. It meant a lot to me because I'm a gay man and I'm 47, same age as your father. He died, and I was married to a woman, and this whole thing was very similar. I appreciate that, and I was drawn to Wax Trax music from the beginning. I was kind of grew up in Orange County, and going to Tower Records was my first store, but I wish I would have found a place like Wax Trax that was just a little more honed into things that I liked. Fucking Thrill Kill is, I've seen you guys 20 times at least, if not more. I adore you, man. I adore you, Frankie.
Thank you so much.
Is brilliant. No, my question is, I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna interrupt for 1 second. So just something that the gentleman just brought up. Wax Trax isn't going to have like an identity, like as a queer label or a gay label, but it had certain sensibilities. And was that, how much of that was conscious? Because I don't really know, you know, that doesn't seem like that necessarily emanated from your dad or Danny or anything, but there was just like this sensibility in it, and it also seemed like it was a very inclusive thing, but it also was the Midwest, so there was, you know, there's a lot of rednecks there, you know.
But I think I can say that, you know, it's pretty obvious in the movie and was stated many times of the idea of there being a community support within that community. It didn't matter, you know, what your band was. It's just, you know, it's just, we're all oddballs, and so we can hang out here and have fun, and it didn't matter.
You know, it was just really good, because like, at least when, you know, when Beer, Steers, and Critters came out, you know, like in St. Louis, you know, that was like, definitely in the underground clubs, like, queers, you know, like, you know, so, but people like embraced that, because that was definitely kind of like, you know, of just kind of putting it back to the mainstream, but, you know, it was also a lot of fun, too, you know, so. Sorry, you can go now.
Not sure how to follow it up, but thanks. First of all, thank you all for being part of the subversive culture. I'm one of those kids that grew up in the rural part of nowhere, so, you know, thank you for bringing that music out. My question is for the artist. What was the impetus for all the different name changes and projects between all of you working together? There was the, I guess they call it the ministry side projects. Why was there the Acid Horse? Why was there the PTP? What was the idea behind putting out different singles and different projects and different names for the music you guys were putting out?
Well, I think that at the time we, you know, so Ministry already had somewhat of an identity. The Cocks had an identity. So if we were working with whatever, one or two other musicians or specifically another vocalist, then we would decide, okay, so this is going to be something different. Not that it was musically that much different, you know, whatever, possibly sonically different, but that's what we
just
did.
made a different name.
We bought it, thank you. So, appreciate it.
Different attention.
Oh, wrong. I wanted to ask a question to Julia. What's happening there? Sorry. Thank you. Julia, is there any portion of Wax Trax, the imprint, the name, the brand, anything that is the body of work? I know a lot of things didn't have contracts, but is any of it still owned by TDT, or anything that TDT became in the years since, or is it now, again, independently owned? And if you permit me, I have a follow-up after that.
Mark's gonna have to defer to that because he helped all the legal stuff. But no, I don't think so, and I hope not that they own anything.
Does that mean that it's back to you?
Well, all of the old stuff that we found in the garage, yeah, we're still holding that. We have the trademark on the name. We have all of that, yes.
Okay.
Do we outright own their things?
Right.
No.
Then is there any plan to start aggressively trying to release music under the Wax
No.
Trax imprint? No? You have no interest in that?
Why not?
No. I was hoping you would, but thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Jed. How are you?
Hi, Jed.
One thing I want to point out, we're in Hollywood, California, and this is a family of musicians. This is music and love, and we're all here in the same room. Real quick, starting with you, sir. One word. Why are you here? Like, the music and the determination and the passion and all that stuff, but like, just make it easy, go down the road. Like, if you could choose one word, why you're here right now?
Money?
That's fine. And you?
Love.
Yes.
I'm going to do 3 words, Jim and Danny.
Awesome.
Fair, that's
And you?
Me.
A sponge of love.
Wow.
Life.
Mm-hmm.
is life.
I wish I had a trumpet. Respect.
What was that?
Blood in my veins, in our veins.
And the new face, you have to answer this.
Loving.
Why are you here?
I'm here to honor them, to recognize them. This is a very influential label. Wax Trax did change my life as well, and you know, I listen to music by everyone that's up here, except for Julia, all the time.
Wait till you hear my shit.
No, it's just so important, and I'm glad, you know, I'm from the Midwest, so like that started there and just kind of, you know, reverberated out, and so to live out here for 21 years and then just still know that this music, you know, like I was driving around like yesterday listening to 'Cause It's Hot, and I'm like, how cool is that? Like that's just, like I still feel like I'm a kid going to the club for the first time, and this label just meant so much for people who just like good music or who were different, and we all come together under that banner of just like, you know, this is a family of weirdos, and listen to our music.
Thank you, senor. The smartest thing said all night.
You know what?
Family of weirdos.
You need a mic to talk. We don't want any hustlers, sir. You're a very nice guy, but you keep it up, Mark's gonna come and get you.
No, it's okay. I'll leave already. No problem.
So this question is for Julia. I think
Get out of
John's a really great job of telling a focused story, and there's a lot, as like one of the earlier gentlemen pointed out, there's a lot more that could have been told, or like that maybe not in this particular film in the 90 minutes or so that you had, but what was maybe one or two things that you weren't able to include in order to keep the story focused, but that like was really hard to not to have to exclude from the documentary?
I would say there was a really fabulous story Ian Mackay told. I think my biggest point of wanting to get across, which is the most difficult, was the sense of humor. And these guys were hilarious. My dad in particular was just, he was out of line and too funny. So there were some really great stories, but you can tell the story, but unless you were really there and feeling it just didn't work. And again, B-roll, you'll see some of that stuff. But I think one of the biggest things that I was super sad, well, there also the live off portion. I didn't know it was a joke. I thought it was a joke. It was a joke. There was a really great follow-up to that we had to like cut it down. And so the Ian Mackay story probably the best, where he, the first time he met my dad and Danny, he went to their apartment, the one where we were roller skating and in wheelchairs, and Danny was showing him some home movies from the 50s of his family, and then he left, and my dad was like, I gotta show you some of my home movies, hold on 1 second. And he grabbed his Faces of Death. And I think, or am I wrong, was it Faces of Death, or which one was it?
Shocking Asia.
Oh, Shocking Asia, yes. Shocking Asia. So he put it on and walked out of the room, and Ian was sitting there just waiting for this family movie, and it was these like transsexual, transvestite little Asian boys that were totally hot and stripped down to their genitals, and he was like, this isn't a family movie. Is this guy trying to get with me? Like, so it was one of the, that was my dad. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jennifer.
With 3 N's.
Yeah, with 3 N's, and I apologize. I lost my voice last weekend at the KULT, so I
You're the new singer?
It was all the hooping and holler originally. My question is mainly aimed towards Andy. I was a music director at a college radio station, KSAK in Walnut. 90.1. And Andy was my contact. I'm curious, Andy, how many college radio stations did you deal with on a weekly basis? Because every time I picked up the phone to call you, I felt like I was the only person that was calling. And I felt that whatever I wanted, you're like, oh yeah, let me send this to you. And for the rest of you guys on the panel, I'm curious if you were aware that they were reaching out to college radio as much as they did.
That's a damn good question.
Well, Jennifer, I always especially appreciated you, of course, because college radio was tough for us. You know, a lot of college stations had specialty shows, like dance shows that would play Wax Trax, but it was really hard for us to break through. You know, sub pop, touch and go, guitar-based bands were really what was on the college charts. And over time, we started to chisel away at that, but it was hard. And there were pockets of stations, and you guys were one, that were super supportive, and we appreciated that. So I'm glad that I made you feel that way. It wasn't because you were the only one calling. Most of the calls were outbound.
Yeah, I swear, every time Steve Cunningham and I would call, it was a case of, oh yeah, whatever you want, whatever you want.
I think sometimes I was probably just so tired of being beat up by everybody else that it was like, oh yeah, it's like a fan. And then over time, things definitely got better. Chris, you had a wonderful line that I hope you don't mind me saying, and that perhaps you'll remember. But Chris came in to me one day and he said, Andy, I know you're the one on the phone, you're the one mailing all the packages, but I'm the one out there fucking the music directors.
And the funny thing is, Chris, I interviewed you with Paul. And yeah, that didn't happen.
Just check.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Hey, you were the first one in here today, weren't you?
Second.
Second.
Don't hold that against me. So it's no secret that many of you may or may not have had a falling out with a certain Alan Jorgensen. This question might be a little too provocative for the room, but I'm wondering if you care to elaborate on any of that. And I just want to say, I had to put the book down because I was tired of reading about Alan Jorgensen's shit-talking Paul Barker as a bass player. I think you're one of the most underrated bass players.
Thank you.
Yeah!
I haven't read the book, and I don't care. He can say whatever he wants. Nobody gives a fuck. You know? And he would be welcome on the stage. Nobody's going to say no. So that's his decision.
Yeah.
Well,
excellent.
Paul, you better be good Saturday now.
Yeah.
I'm watching you. All right, I think that is. Oh, Dre, you get the last question.
I guess going down the road, what is your favorite release on the label? If not,
You know I was going to ask that question.
Pretty nice.
Still your seat.
Oh, God. Come on, guys.
Right
down the line.
Guess it's time to think about it. Take your time.
Oh, Let It Do Gold. I like that single. And by the way, you got nothing to say about Let It Do Gold tonight?
New record.
New record.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Dick.
Just announced that I finished a new Let It Be Gold single. And unfortunately, it's not going to be on Wax Trax.
Oh.
I said no. That's not true. And you never know, you guys. It might come out.
Yeah, so thank you, Richard. You're welcome. But one of my favorite releases is a Chris release, and the other is a Thrill Cult release. So the first Thrill Cult record, First Guy, a Super Dare, I always love that song. And Confessions of a Knife, Chris's record.
I'd have to say, I'm going to say it's the record that turned me on to Wax Trax in the first place, and that was Envoyé by the Young Dogs.
Yeah!
Okay, good, go.
Yo, I don't know any of the songs. I don't even listen to mine. Janet Jackson was not on Wax.
Beautiful.
Movie Man?
Shipwreck, Chris Conley. This William Tucker on guitar.
Andy?
I can't pick one. I will refuse, definitely.
Yeah.
For Satan, and Peanut Butter Lamb for me. I love that album.
Richard?
He said it.
That's it. First 11 to go single. What was that? Paul? Yeah, right. So, yeah.
Julia?
Only day?
Only one thing, no Madonna, she was on the lead. God, you guys, you know what? I would have to say PTP is my favorite.
And I know Aaron and I talked earlier. One of my, I don't know if it's my favorite, but one I listened to a lot was Wise Blood Motor Slug. The Rock Crew.
Yeah.
Not quite a
Venus. Come on.
And also,
Only one.
Carl Panic Tainted Love.
Oh, okay.
You're the last one.
My name's Chris. With this long animated documentary, you use a lot of the old Wax Trax music video material and background in places. And I made me wonder, how much was the label actually involved with the artists and their music videos during that period of time that artists had those videos?
You guys can answer that.
Was there, did you just do your own video and they put it out? Did they fund it?
The band videos?
Band videos. Yeah, they were all over the place and they were all over different styles and
Well, that's because everybody did their own. Everybody used a different director, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly.
So, but as a follow-up,
H-Gun was the big, H-Gun did a lot of stuff in Chicago.
Yeah.
That was a go-to.
The early ones.
Yeah.
But Richard, on that Anton Corbin Headhunter video, what was with those eggs?
You know what? That's a fucking great question.
All right, make it quick. This is, we gotta get to the after party. Come on.
Hey guys. So I grew up on all the country and blues and honky tonk as a little kid. And then somewhere around when I was 8 years old, I discovered ministry.
I didn't understand.
But you guys were subversive to the culture, the youth of America in the 80s and the early 90s. How do you guys feel about the fact that you were such a driving influence for that youth culture and the alternative culture? Something that came out of, the Reagan era and the Bush era and all that stuff, and you guys just totally screwed it up for everybody else. In a good way. How does that make you feel that you have that much of an influence on the culture and youth?
All right. First of all, those are very kind words, and we aren't, whatever. So of course we all have our own challenges, and we have our own influences as well. So when we're in the middle of doing this, we're just doing it for ourselves, and we don't know what the impact is. The fact that this theater filled up to see this show. The fact that there were 3 days of the Retrospectacle in Chicago 6 years ago, these things state or point to how this music has been kind of embraced by people across the country. And of course, it makes us feel good. I mean, it's, of course, we're all flattered by it. And I doubt that any of us think about, the fact that you say that, whatever, that we are anarchistic or, actually we're trying to do things to undermine society. I mean, whatever. As an artist, you just do these things and then, let the chips fall where they may.
It's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful.
All right, folks, that's it. I just want to thank everyone up here for their time, and I hope that you all realize and can feel how much your music means to everyone that's here in the audience, and the legacy that it continues to have, and the influence and the importance. It means a lot to so many people, and I think it's going to continue to do so. And Julie and Mark, thanks for making this really great movie.